You know,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, when he died, he was known all around the world, even in places in the world you could say Michael Jackson and they would know who that was, but if you
Yeah.
said Jesus Christ, they didn't have a clue. But I'm just saying that's how popular he was. But in heaven, I don't know if he was even known. I don't know if
Yeah.
the angels even knew who he was. See, the way heaven works versus the way the kingdom down here versus the true kingdom,
Yeah.
it's not the same. I have a feeling you and I think the angels know us. I think Paul we know, Jesus we know, Mike and Kevin we know. Now, some of y'all that heard that don't go nuts on it. They compared themselves to Jesus. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think the angels know because our reputation is we
Yeah.
love Jesus. How do we know we love Jesus? Because we've proven it with our life. You know,
Yeah.
that day when I came home and my wife said, "There's really not that. There's maybe some spaghetti. I don't know." You can't even eat it to this day because you ate so much growing up. I'm sorry for that. But the bottom line is, we didn't start indicting God.
Yeah.
You never heard me say, I tell you what,
No.
this ministry sucks and it
No.
can't provide better for me. I'm going to go find something.
Even when times got tough in the ministry with other people, um, who tried to undermine or work against the ministry, there was still, you know, because of everything we had been through. For me, it was like it's just a present suffering.
Yeah,
It's just a present suffering. It's a
present.
moment. It's present. Present becomes past very quickly.
Come on.
And that ability to kind of shift through that and realize it. But it goes back to just being eternally minded. To walk away from 100,000, it was weird having you say that over and over again because we haven't talked about this on the podcast. We talked about me leaving Geico and leaving money, but we haven't talked about what it is. And they say it's $100,000. Okay, $100,000. Now I've been gone 2 years. It's $200,000 I'm making less in my lifetime because of this. And yet, like you said, I don't even feel it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's moments where I could go, oh, we could have done this. We could splurge. We could, and but I was always faithful with what I had and blessed others. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Whether it was to go on a date, whether it was a TV, whether, you know what I mean? Looking for opportunities to do those things. Money never had me. You know what I mean? And that was probably because of growing up. It wasn't probably, it was because of growing up and seeing how money is a way that the world requires for us to do certain things, but that's not where true provision comes
And
from.
money is a measurement.
Yeah.
Jesus said a man's life consists not, hear the word not,
Yeah.
of the abundance of the things he possessed. On this planet, money, it's what gives you fame.
Yeah.
There are people that are nobodies that become rappers and can rhyme a few cuss words. And next thing you know, they overnight they're making millions of dollars, and they were just thugs.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of rap, but the bottom line is they just they got wealth, and it ruins most of them.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do with it.
Yep.
And they run through it, and then when all's come and gone, and their fame and Satan will spit you out when he's through with you, and
Yeah, you'll be filing bankruptcy.
you'll have nothing, and you'll
Yeah.
be lottery winners. You find them sometimes on the streets, homeless, and you go, "How could you go through? You won $30 million. How did you lose that?" When much is given, much is required. If you don't have the character to handle that, that's a huge responsibility, and most people don't. And that's why it runs like sand through their fingers. And a lot of times I've watched videos or shows about lottery winners, and afterwards they're worse off than before, because people
Yeah.
are always thinking, if I had the money would answer all my problems, all my questions. Some of the most miserable people on the planet are wealthy people.
Yeah.
Some of the people in the gross darkness that are doing weird, dark, demonic things are people with lots of money, because it does something to your heart. It makes you
Yeah.
believe things about yourself. It starts giving you a God status and stuff. And
Well,
that's
it attracts the wrong people too,
oh
and
yeah,
then you never know whether you have true friends. I have true friends that if I needed to, because why? Because I've sown friendship. You said this on Sunday. It says, "Give and it shall be given to you." Nowhere in there, and I think we used it even for the sermon shot this week. Nowhere in there does it say money. It says give and it'll be given to you. We've sown working sacrificially, laying down our life. We've sown time. We've sown ministry into others and helping people move. Whatever it was, we have sown those things. And so when it comes time that I have needs, I have plenty of friends and it won't cost me anything. That girl that we ended up moving doesn't even go to the church. It was a one-time, experience where she was playing games with us in a big group online, and she had mentioned in passing, like, "Yep, kind of going through it, and me and my kids got to move, and we're gonna get a U-Haul truck and stuff." And I was like, "Well, we'll come by and help you." No, you don't have to. No, we'll come by. I'll get a couple guys. Plus, we got the church truck. We'll be able to do it. And she's like, well, I can pay you guys. No, you don't have to pay us. You know what I mean? And did she come to church the following Sunday? No. Did I expect her to? No. Why? Because I gave and didn't expect anything in return. Because I don't know if it's going to be weeks or months, or whatever, years later, that she's going to look back on that and it's going to be like, in a time of need when I needed, they gave and didn't ask for anything. They didn't make me feel guilty. They didn't leave tracts under the door. You know what I mean? They didn't keep throwing things out like, "Yeah, man, we got church tomorrow." Trying to, 10 o'clock, right? Yeah, 10 o'clock. Like trying to, influence her mind with those things. I love when you live by faith, the word becomes so much more alive. God reveals himself so much more. And you learn more about his character. You mentioned that day that you came home and there was no food in the house. In the last several years, decades, you probably have never experienced that again. Because it's not a test that God's like, "I want you to repeat." He doesn't want you to repeat it. But for him, it's an understanding of, but you grew right there. It's like any good father. When my children do something, when I give Lincoln, a little thing of, some chocolate, M&Ms or whatever. And if he goes around and he shares with his brothers and sisters, that, to me, I wasn't testing him. I just gave him M&Ms. Yeah. But his response to what I gave him fills me with so much compassion. I want to give more. Yeah. And then I want to, you know what I mean? Now I'm giving him a big old family size. So you're going to give this all to, recently Ollie used his own allowance money to buy a big oven chocolate chip cookie thing. I said, well, he said, "Can I have it for dessert?" I said, "Yeah, but that's a lot of cookie." He's like, "Well, it's for all of us. So all of us can have some of that." To me, that's where it's like, that's the character reproducing in them, where they want to, and in that same way, God looks at us. And when it comes to money, he's like, "Man, if you can hold on to it loosely, then I know that you are just an avenue for my blessings and that you can be a blessing to someone else." And we have, in the last 2 years, we have sown out more than we probably have the prior 10. Because we've been able to do the means to do those things. Yeah. And with taking on an additional family working at the church. And that's where I think a lot of people may look at that and say, "That's insane. I don't think I could ever do that." No, you probably couldn't right now. But that's why you exercise it daily. That's why your faith is growing constantly. You find yourself in a situation where only God can make it up. And instead of you trying to go out and fix it and ruining it, you step back and you say, "Okay, God, I'm going to do what I can, but there's still going to be a gap here. That's going to have to be you." Mm-hmm. And then when he does it, then the faithfulness to go, "Okay, well, he did it before. He'll do it again." And we have people in our church now that, between yours life and my life, look at it and they go, "Well, surely if they did it for Mike, if they did it for Kevin, he'll do it for me."
Yeah.
That's
what it means to be a living epistle read of all men. Your life lessons, you gotta pass the test.
Yeah.
You and I have passed the test repeatedly.
Yeah.
That having food and raiment, therewith be content. It never had to do with the size of our house, what we drove. I have a Genesis I drive right now.
Yeah.
It's a 2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 10 years old now.
Yeah. To me, it's still a brand new car.
Yeah.
And but the bottom line is, the last car I had 17 years.
Yeah.
And I ended up giving it to somebody in the church because it's like, come people, quit being. I feel like, will the real Christians please stand up? The way that the gospel is being published or preached throughout the earth, some of the ones that are preaching it, and it's, You can tell you're a Christian by what you drive,
Yeah.
by the size of your house. That's the world.
Yeah.
The world is doing that. Jesus said, don't measure that way.
Mm-hmm.
And when you said, I give without expecting in return, where did Jesus go and heal and do things for people and had his hand out
Yeah.
and said, by the way, the guy with the money bag over there, Judas,
Yeah.
give him something real good.
I love how it shows that they do that though with Judas, where he says, if we were to have some kind of collection at the end of what we do, we could fund future events and things like that, and when we'd be able to stay in nicer places, and we wouldn't have to always be looking, who could accommodate us and stuff. And I love who was it? I think it was James. He goes, "We don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't do that. There's no we just, you fed the 5,000. Imagine if we would have taken up a collection, then we could have got all this money and stuff. We don't do that. Why? Because that's not the way of our Father.
Yeah.
Because when my kids do something for each other, they never expect anything back. In fact, if I hear them do that, well, if you do this, then I'll do this with. No. Either you do it out of the kindness of your heart or you don't. But to do it with an expectation of this is going to benefit me later, it's that 1 degree off, 2 degrees off. You will never get to the fullness of character that God wants you to get because you deviated.
That's the word. We have not seen a sustained move of God for any length of time, and it's right there because the people that he's using, as soon as they get a little bit of success, they shipwreck.
Yeah.
And I could name names, but I'm not. But I'm just saying, soon as they got some notoriety, soon as the crowds got a little bigger, as soon as they started going to the green room,
and they started getting a PR rep,
and
public relations,
and they got their security and all. It's okay. Now you're rock stars. Now you think you are not reflective. The Son of the Most High God. Yeah. Did not walk around with security and all that. First time Peter tries to be security, he says, come on, really?
Yeah.
I know that I can ask my Heavenly Father who will send legions of angels to protect me. I don't need you to whip out a sword and go, and you missed anyways. You cut a guy's ear off, and what does Jesus do? He picks up the ear and puts it back on and heals it. Come on.
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting that he did that too, because he knew by doing this, Romans can't go and say he cut his ear off. It's kind of like that Monty Python. She turned me into a newt. A newt? Got better. You know what I mean? There's now no evidence of Peter's wrongdoing. Yeah. And it was like the first sign of the cross of Jesus being like, no. I can eliminate the hurt you just caused and the pain and say, the slate's clean.
Yeah,
now, they couldn't go and try him for that. But that is it. It's the if you can pass the test, then and you don't deviate, you don't get a degree off, and you may think it's a small degree. It's a slippery slope because once you're 1 degree off, then you're going to want to go maybe another degree off, and all of a sudden you got public relations telling you, if you didn't preach so much about these topics, you could still be positive and encouraging and you know what I mean? And yeah, you can totally do that. Joel Osteen does that just fine, but he's never going to preach about anything controversial. He's never going to put someone in a situation where they're going to have the mirror of the word in front of them and they're going to say, I don't like what I see. He's always going to be like, no, you're going to love what you see. You're going to love, God loves you. You don't have to change. He bought you just the way you are. Yes, so you could change, not so you could stay the same.
We go from glory to glory, and people just, if you're still in the same state, if you supposedly gave your heart to Jesus and you're still dropping F-bombs, and you're still watching porn,
you're still drinking,
and you're still drinking, and you're still gambling or whatever and stuff, you're still flirting.
Yeah.
And the world looks at you, and then every once in a while, someone starts talking about religion, and then you go, oh, yeah, I'm a Christian. And the world looks at you and goes, well, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
These should be flags. You should have evidence. The Bible tells us how we know we've passed from death unto life. Why? Because we love the brethren. This lady, when she says, I'll pay you, you don't have to.
Yeah.
See, some people, I can hear it in the spirit. They're going, there's nothing wrong with making money. It is when
it's off the hurts of
when
others.
that's the
Yeah.
motive.
Yeah.
You know, I've had a few people bless me in my lifetime,
Yeah.
you know, with a big offering or something like that. You know, I had a lady give me $5,000 one time for taking her through deliverance. Didn't ask for it. Was shocked that it happened. It happened at a really good time in my life when I needed the money. That to me is my Father's provision.
Yep.
But you know, the person that gave it wasn't a widow, and it wasn't somebody. This was a person who had. It's not that big a deal to give that kind of offering.
Yeah.
These guys that are trying to browbeat and
Yeah.
bring condemnation to those people on Social Security that are trying to make their pledge and their seed faith and all this. Oh my goodness, people! You know, you can tell this
bondage.
this is a sore spot with me. I don't like when people make Jesus out to be some kind of slot machine.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and nobody can really accuse us of that because I mean, even when Pastor was out here from Texas, we forgot to take up the offering. It just slipped our mind. We had completely.
Yeah.
And some people would be like, "Well, that's just not very organized, not very professional, not very." It wasn't in the forefront of our mind. We've done it before where we're like, "Oops, here, let's pass the bags. Let's make sure everyone has an opportunity to give."
I want you pastors that are listening. We have a box in our church. It's on when you walk in. It's a small box. Mm-hmm. It's not a big thing. It's not painted fluorescent orange
or clear so everyone could see.
No, it's a little witchcraft, a little manipulation. Really, that's change.
You hear the clank, 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 clank.
Yeah, those are ones you're putting in there. Don't act like they're 20s. No, it's a wooden box. It has a slit in the top.
Yep.
And it's got a little lock that you could. You could
probably break
it. Just jerk on it. It's just for looks. But the bottom line is, it says tithes and offerings. A little sign about this big above it, and it's everybody knows it's there.
Yeah.
I've seen people when the guys take up the offering. Sometimes they go too fast, or sometimes people are writing checks and it's like, there they go. Okay. And you know what? They don't just put it back in their purse, or they go after church. They go, see, if you've trained people and taught people, give and it shall be given. That's a message that's probably the least preached in our, and I guarantee it's the least.
Yeah.
You go and look at our videos and stuff. Giving is not.
I don't even think it's ever been a title.
They're far and few between if they're on there, but our people give. Yeah. How do we afford two people to be full time?
Yeah,
we live in decent houses. Our rent's always paid on time.
Yeah,
rent. You guys don't own your home? Nope. You know,
more faith.
Yeah, and oh my goodness, you know, we've just recently got to a place where, if something happened and people just did not give for a few months, we would actually be able to maintain the ministry for at least 3 months.
Yeah.
Now then we'd run out, but the bottom line is, God is.
But that wasn't always there.
But there's been guys on K-Love that have preached about you need at least 3 months worth of tithes and offerings put aside to run the ministry in case a disaster or something happens. Yeah, in a perfect world, yes, but when Jesus showed up one time and was preaching, if you think I'm long-winded, he would preach for a long
from the morning
till night. Evening. Then he said, "Let's feed them." And one disciple said, "Send them away so we can go." And he goes, "We can't send them away hungry. We're out here in the wilderness. There's no food around here. Just collect up something. We'll see what we can do." And they come back. We got a few loaves and a few fish. Like that's going to do anything.
Maybe we could eat this discreetly
in the tent over here and just hope they all go away. But that's not who he is.
No.
He people. Well, that's what he did back then because he didn't have the means to do it the way we do it.
No, see, people forget he chose that specific time.
Yes.
If it was about the means of what we do now, he would have come now. But it wasn't. If anything, he wanted to stay away from that. because he said, take heed that no one deceive you. There's going to be many coming in my name. They're going to deceive many false prophets and things. They're going to say they're from me. They're not me.
Yeah.
They're not me.
Yeah.
He specifically chose a far removed time, because that was a preordained time that
Yeah.
that he knew that's when I'm going to intercept, and I'm going to destroy sin. I'm going to pave the way to salvation, and I'm going to preach to them.
And he did it. You know why he did it? So we would have to do it by faith.
Yeah.
Because if he did it in our time,
Video
and
recorded,
everybody and the 5,000 all had
I'm
iPhone,
live streaming
iPhones,
Jesus on the mount.
and they see the 3 loaves and the fishes, and then the 12 baskets and all that. And it's like, it's multiplying. And it was on the internet, and the 10 leopards that came and walked away cleansed, and one came back and said, oh, by the way, thank you. I appreciate it. And I believe he got his fingers back, but that's because it says he was made whole. But if we had all those miracles on YouTube, then there'd be no faith. It would just, I see it, therefore I believe it. Jesus came, one of his own disciples said, I won't believe it until I see it. And I put my fingers in the where they pierced him in his side, and I touched the nail prints in his hand. Thomas, man of faith and power, said that, and then the next thing you know, Jesus shows up and walks up to Thomas, never greeted him this way, and says, Thomas, stick your finger in my side, touch the nail prints. Why did he say that in greeting? Because that was the last thing Thomas said, I won't believe until. And Jesus walked. My goodness, people, this is, we live by faith. The just shall live by faith. So what are all these other people? Not just. They found ways to market. And some people, if they make it, I'm not even convinced some of them are going because their hearts are not pure.
Yeah.
But because the pure in heart will see him.
Yeah.
So if they make it and they go, where's my crown? Where's my rewards? He goes,
you got it all.
You got it all down there. Everything you charge, everything that every deliverance you did, every book you got, everything that we went to Georgia, and the church, we paid for the building, we paid for our plane tickets, we paid for our
hotel, rental car.
We paid for all of it.
Yeah.
And we came and we gave material free to people.
Yeah.
And people go, that's not how you do it, guys. That's not how you do a seminar.
No, see, that is how you do it, because now we have a couple out there that is out there witnessing, preaching, and doing deliverance, and have started a website. What do? Offer deliverance. Do they charge? No. Why? Because we didn't charge them.
Yeah.
And now they do it. It was an opportunity to prove to them, this is what faithfulness looks like in God. This is the action.
And that's making disciples.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to go back there.
Yeah.
I have people calling me from all over the United States. I don't want to be that guy you call in California.
Yeah.
I want to go see your church, your pastor get the revelation and him do it.
Yep.
Because you know why? He knows you.
Yeah.
You trust him.
Yeah.
You got 10 leads on us right out of the gate because you've built relationship. They trust you. So learn the truth of what these signs shall follow them that believe in my name. You'll cast out. Come on. We're not just big on deliverance. We're big on wholeness.
Yep.
And deliverance is you're never going to be whole with demonic spirits lying to you about you're unworthy.
Yeah.
Nothing saddens me more than to see the body of Christ. We had a guy years ago, came from Bethel. Your name dropping. They came, and I said, how come you don't get married? I said, you're 40-something years old. You're a good-looking guy. You got a great personality. Yeah. He said, I've been divorced. I got a teenage daughter. And he said, honestly, he said, the numbers don't work for me. I said, numbers? What are you talking about? He said, 50%. He said, that's kind of the going rate. It's 50% don't make it. And I looked at him, and I didn't think about this. I said, we haven't had a divorce in our church in 30 years. Back then it was 30 years. Yeah. Now it's 40-something. And he looked at me like I just spit in his face. He said, are you serious? I said, yeah. And he knew I wasn't lying,
Yeah.
and I wasn't evangelistically speaking, or you stretch it. I said, no, we've only had two.
Yeah. You come here, you listen, you submit to the word. Your relationship can be whole.
Hurting people hurt people. We get the
Yep.
hurt out of people, and they stay married, and they don't split up. And
Yeah.
decade after now, it's 4 decades of people not having to go through that horrible thing called divorce and the war and the
Yeah.
weekend parenting and all that garbage. I said, he said, looked at me with tears in his eyes, said, that's the greatest miracle I've ever heard. I said, I never thought of it like that. That's something that was just normal to us.
Yeah.
We just didn't see it much divorce. I never really even statistically sat down
Yeah.
and tracked it. Never thought this would be we could put this as clickbait.
Yeah.
How to have a divorce-free church. Well, you know, but he heard that, and he said, how do you do it? And I got to share with him about deliverance. Ended up taking him through deliverance because he had fear.
Yeah.
He wanted to get married. He just didn't want to go through that. He said it was horrible. It was the worst thing I ever went through. And took him through deliverance. And guess what? A few years after that, he met a woman, got married. He lives in Switzerland now, and he's rocking the nation of Switzerland with his wife.
Yep.
And
they're partnered together in the gospel.
It's so beautiful. But this is a guy that it kind of, forget kiss dating goodbye. He had kissed marriage goodbye.
Yeah.
And in a world, that's one thing recently, the IRS put out a statistic. There's more single men in America than ever. And they equated it to pornography. They said guys are seeing all the things they want to see without having to get committed. And that went on to say, coming from divorced families, they don't want to go through that again because it's painful. You've been through that as a child.
Yeah.
Successfully and happily. I never worry that you and Maddie might not make it. That is so far removed from me. It's wonderful. But these are statistics that speak.
Yeah.
And so some of you that are going, what? No, we haven't seen divorce. Now, there are people that have come to our church and have left and got divorced.
Yeah.
That don't count. You left.
You're not. We can't help it if you're not in the flock. If you come and we've had them where because we've had some that come and they're like on life support, not even life support. They're being about to be pronounced dead. The marriage is dead. We want to divorce amicably.
Yeah.
And they reconcile.
Yeah.
And then we've had others that come in and we tell them, here's the price tag. You got to get whole. You got to train your soul. You got to learn how to live sacrificially. Nope, don't want anything to do with it. They leave the church. They get divorced. Well, that's like blaming the doctor that the medicine didn't work that you didn't take.
Yeah. No, but when I say we've had two, it's two that were in the church when that happened. And but that's far and few between.
Yeah.
And that just same with our recovery rate. We have a very high recovery. If you come to our church and you have a drug and alcohol problem, you will get off drugs and alcohol and you will not fall off the wagon for decades because we have a 98% recovery rate. Now that we're giving statistics, people go, that's unheard of. Yes, but that's what the kingdom of God does.
Yeah.
Not celebrate recovery, not all these things where you go in and you're still doing it by the way of the world, where fear is the motivation. How about we cast out the spirit of fear and you don't have to live in fear of ever falling and making a mistake and then going back to square one and starting. That is not that is not the gospel. I believe when Jesus put that ear back on that man, there was no scar.
Yeah.
I believe he couldn't tell it was ever cut off. That's the God we serve. He does such a good job of restoration and healing that no one can even see that you ever were scarred. And that's why people do drug and alcohol, is because of trauma and things that have happened that the demons keep playing the videos of the past, so they keep medicating. If you shut down the video machine, and you get that stuff out, then they don't have to keep medicating because they're not being tormented. It is so simple. That's what the gospel is. It's simple. People, listen, it's simple. I have to look in the monitor to go, it's simple.
Right here.
Yeah, it's simple. So, well, I believe we just shared our hearts today.
Yeah.
I hope this blessed people. I know I felt the presence of God all over it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was ministering to me.
yeah, it ministered to me too. I mean, just that's always a good telltale sign that when the Holy Spirit's rocking you, you're like, okay, obviously it's touching me. So I have a feeling it's touching those out there in podcast land. Well, I'm Mike Hall, and this is Kevin Hall, and we just want to say this. We actually love you people. We've never met.
Yeah.
One day we'll see you probably in heaven, and you can walk up and say, "Hey, I watched your podcast, and it really rocked me. I look forward to it."
Yeah.
We have a guy in the church right now. He's a joy to my soul. I enjoy this man immensely. He says, "I'm watching him every day down the hill." He can't get enough of this because it's truth.
Yeah.
And, when you go to church and you don't hear the truth, but you get little snippets of maybe, mostly truth, kind of like Princess Bride,
Mostly dead. Yeah.
Now, when you start hearing life and the gospel and the purity of it, and not the watered down Egypt version of it, but the true gospel, it's very refreshing. And I hope that's you that they're listening to us. I hope that what it to you it is. It's refreshing, and you don't feel like you're an outcast because.
And we don't make it impossible.
No,
it's very possible. You should be able to look at the lives and say that's what a lot of people in the church say. They look at us and they say it can be done. They don't make it look impossible. We let people into our lives so they can see that it is possible. They can see our humanity and say, "Yet God."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we love you. God bless.